I think for a small institute, Smith-Kettlewell has had a huge impact on the whole field of vision and low vision and blindness.
But the Institute is very forward-minded and lateral thinking. I decided to come to Smith-Kettlewell Eye Research Institute because it is the premier institute for vision science and has been for many years. The bridge between clinicians and scientists is extremely important. If you're ever going to be able to solve the significant clinical problems and challenges that we still have in medicine.
Unique perspective that Smith-Kettlewell brings is that there's a close overlap between the people who are doing really basic science and those that are thinking about clinical applications. And often they're the same scientists, and that's not usually the case. So in most of my training, for example, outside of Smith-Kettlewell, the work was really only about basic science. Even though we get our funding from the NIH, there's no vision of how it even connects to the clinic or to helping people with low vision. Whereas at Smith-Kettlewell, that's really at the forefront.
But then you collaborate with everybody. We're in these meetings talking about science with all of these, Chris Tyler, Manfred McKeeben, but then we also have clinical scientists that would come and participate in these. And it opens up new avenues of inquiry that you might not expect. And for me, I had been studying eye movements and models, information models, and Don Fletcher, who is an ophthalmologist studying low vision patients, came to a meeting. We had a side conversation. He said, you know, I have two patients with the same amount of loss, the same retinal lesion sizes and these kinds of things, but one is doing fine and the other is really, really struggling. And I think it has something to do with eye movements. And that was really sort of this pivotal moment where these ideas I had started to find their application in the clinic potentially, and started the whole line of inquiry that led me to actually funding my own program of research at Smith-Kettlewell.
And the value that Smith-Kettlewell brings to the scientific research table and to the technology development table is that we here at Smith-Kettlewell understand that blindness and low vision are just parts of the visual continuum and are worthy of study in their own right, and are parts of the scientific research process that if we understand blindness and low vision appropriately, we can then create tools and systems that are optimized for and benefit people who are blind and who have low vision. Whereas if we were only a medical institution, if we only did research on medical conditions, we wouldn't really understand how to make life better, to build better tools for blind and visually impaired people. And that's what Smith-Kettlewell offers and has always offered, and I hope will continue to champion into the future.
So an interaction between clinic and basic science, and I think that's going to have to be the future. That, you know, you're not going to find things if the clinicians only talk to clinicians and the basic researchers only talk to basic researchers. And Smith-Kettlewell has been doing that since 1963.
We all feel inspired, maybe is the right word, by the example of Smith-Kettlewell to use our interest in vision, whether it be fundamental interest or clinical interest, to find ways to make people's lives better, particularly people who have problems with vision impairment, to develop new methods for diagnosis, new methods for treatment, methods for amelioration of these kind of visual problems.
I think that Smith-Kettlewell is pretty unique. I think that there's always been a small institution, eclectic, with different researchers working in different areas of visual science and technology for accessibility. And I think that has always been a strength of this Smith-Kettlewell. They always collaborated with, of course, multiple medical centers and universities. But nowadays, a lot of this research is done by very large groups, maybe in companies, somewhat anonymous. And I think that this long-time model of small groups collaborating, a small environment that is also convivial and leading to working together, I think it is very successful. Going role in the future, I'm sure they will still lead the way.
All people working here are very passionate about what they are doing, and then they are really pushing state of art that people didn't think that's possible is actually happening at SKERI, and what industry is seeing that wow, that's actually possible.